No, I definitely think it's going to be the turnovers. I think it's going to be the things that can really be controlled on the football field by the player, that being Dak Prescott himself. Look, and the reason why I don't want to like diminish the fact that obviously play calling is a vital uh, factor when you're talking about overall team success and in particular quarterback success. But look, Dak Prescott, a guy of his accomplishment, a guy of his years, has the ability to sometimes mitigate what may be a less than desirable call that comes in from the sideline with his ability to change plays at the line of scrimmage, go ahead and be able to survey the landscape in terms of the defense and get them into a better look, a better play call that winds up making everyone look better. It makes him look better, makes the play call look better, makes everyone look better. So I think in that regard, Dak Prescott has more control than maybe what you think in terms of affecting what the play calls look like once they come in and how they're executed on the football field. So therefore, I'm concerned. Well, I shouldn't say I'm concerned. I'm not, when you're trying to compare these two, I'm more concerned about Dak than making sure that he doesn't play this season too tight, that he doesn't play too hesitant, that he doesn't start second guessing himself, that he doesn't start putting an inordinate amount of pressure on himself in terms of, do I throw this ball in there? Do I kind of pull back? Do I tuck it and run? Do I get to my second read? Was my first read open? And next thing you know, he's double pumping the football. He's maybe releasing it a tick late, and that leading to even more interceptions or less efficiency, however you want to term it. That's what I'm more worried about for him. I want to see Dak Prescott play this year free, play it fast, play it intelligently, play it like you have a good grasp of the offense, which I'm sure he does, because I'm sure Mike didn't go, hey, you know what? We're just going to scrap everything that Kellen Moore did, and we're just going to start over, from scratch. So I think Dak will be on it as far as understanding exactly what he can get to and what he can't get to within the context of this offense on a play-by-play basis. I just want him to then cut it loose. And I want him to then affect the game in a positive way and not play hesitant. So that's why I'm waiting to see how Dak looks when, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, the rubber meets the road. They're in a 2-minute situation. They're in an end-of-game situation. The score's, within 7 points, and he has to make that crucial throw or that crucial decision, maybe when they're backed up and coming out of their own end zone, or they're down there in the red zone trying to score. That's what I'm waiting to see. I'm not worried about Mike McCarthy. He's done this a long time. He knows what he's doing. It's Dak and his execution on the football field that I'm interested to see the most.
And McCarthy has a ton of pressure on himself to, now all the onus is on him to make sure that this offense, if you said Kellen Moore wasn't doing a job that was up to the standard that this Cowboys team needed, now that Mike McCarthy's taking the reins of this offense, it all falls on him. Lou, I'm with you. These interceptions will keep me up at night if I'm a Cowboys fan until I see them go away, until I see Dak Prescott from 2018 through 2021, that version of him, where if he had 11 interceptions one season, he comes back and he has single digits the next year. You need to see that in order to have confidence that this team that can finish another 12-win season can take one step further with Dak Prescott running the show at quarterback. I do worry, though, as much as the Brandon Cooks addition was a needed one, they needed that speed on the outside, you took away his security blanket in Dalton Schultz. Without Ezekiel Elliott, you're relying on Tony Pollard coming off injury to carry the weight of the run game, something Mike McCarthy said that he wants to do more of. I would really like to see Zeke actually back in Dallas to keep this thing as consistent as it needs to be going forward. We'll see if they end up making a move like that. But insulation, that word's come up a couple times with Dak Prescott. He's playing without his right guard right now in Zach Martin. That, to me, is more of a concern than maybe we're making it out to be. The pressure that comes up through the interior of the offensive line is something that very few quarterbacks can, just take a kind of a hand to and say, well, that's not going to bother me. That's something that they really need to get figured out so Dak Prescott isn't forced into making decisions where he's making quicker throws than he's able to, or he's anticipating things that under different circumstances won't result in a turnover. I think Mike McCarthy's going to end up simplifying the scheme so when Dak Prescott gets into a rut like we saw down the stretch of last season, I didn't feel like Kellen Moore had any sort of fail-safe for him. Mike McCarthy can do that the way that he did that for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, But until these interceptions can all of a sudden go away and he's down to, 7 or 8 a year in this offense, I think that's the biggest concern with Dallas and what is going to be potentially the impediment for them getting past the divisional round of the playoffs.
Yeah, we see the 15 interceptions on our screen right there in terms of how many he had last year. The truth is Dak Prescott only played 12 games and yet still tied Davis Mills for the most interceptions in the league. You just can't have that. Those have got to be concerning if you're a Cowboys fan. But what do you think is more likely, that Parsons becomes a first ballot Hall of Famer or that he gets a ring, that he wins a Super Bowl that the Cowboys have not seen in decades? What do you think, Lewis? Which is more likely?
Yeah, I'm swinging for the fences here. Like, I think it's more likely that he becomes a first ballot Hall of Famer before he wins a Super Bowl. And the reason why I say this is, look, I was just out at the Pro Football Hall of Fame for the induction ceremonies over the past weekend. And I've been out there for the past couple of years. And listening to these guys talk about the kind of uncommon, extraordinary motivation and drive that these guys have to really, take responsibility for their own preparation, their own performance, and their own ability to repeat that performance over and over and over again is something that everyone should listen to. And I believe that Micah Parsons has that kind of drive. I think he will have that kind of self-discipline, and he has that kind of long-range goal to really immerse himself in the process of trying to be great, not just 1 or 2 seasons like he has been already, where he's had 26 and a half sacks in his first 2 seasons. Look, I think he has it for the long haul. And as long as he continues to have that, and I don't see any reason why he doesn't. This is a guy who could easily surpass 120, 130 sacks in his career, if he is able to play 10, 11, 12, 13 seasons. We just saw one of the former Cowboys in DeMarcus Ware get inducted into the Hall of Fame with his 130-plus sacks. And honestly, when you look at Micah Parsons, he can do everything that the great pass rushers of our time who are built like him, who are those hybrid 34 outside linebackers, can do. He can do it all. He has speed, he has power, he has change-ups, and he has the competitive character to want to be great and understand what the process means to be great. When you're talking about trying to win a Super Bowl, look, Micah can do a lot, but as we saw last year, he can't do everything. Mm-hmm. This is not track and field. This is not tennis. This is a very much so team-dependent, interdependent sport. And to say that he will win a Super Bowl before he can become a first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't know how you can really make that argument. Look at all the different subjects we've talked about with this football team already. Are you more concerned about Mike McCarthy or more concerned about Dak Prescott? Are you more concerned about Dak Prescott throwing interceptions or Justin Herbert throwing interceptions? These are all things that are out of Micah's control that would lead to them either winning a Super Bowl or not. But if you're just talking about this guy as a singular entity and whether or not he has the skill and the drive to become a first ballot Hall of Famer, I would say right now, I know it's only 2 years in, he's well on his way. He's already got 2 double-digit sacks in his first 2 seasons. Let him string together a couple more, and I guarantee you we'll be having this conversation again.
I think all of that is why he's going to be on the trajectory to lead this team to a Super Bowl. I know he's 2 years in, and there's all these great things that he's already done. He won AP Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's a 2-time first-team All-Pro defender. All of those things are going to continue on, assuming health and all of the things necessary for him to play at the level of which he's been playing at the last 2 years. But Jerry Jones isn't going to pay Micah Parsons a boatload of money next year if he doesn't think that he's going to be part of a Super Bowl team. Eventually, this Cowboys team is going to get there. They have to, considering how much money they've invested all across the board, whether it's Trayvon Diggs and the new 5-year extension that he signed last week, and soon to be Micah Parsons when he's eligible for an extension of his own. With Dan Quinn running that defense, I think they're a top 5 unit yet again this year. They're, top 4 offense last year, top 5 defense. All of those things in an NFC that's more wide open probably than it's ever been puts the Dallas Cowboys in the driver's seat to get there by the end of Micah Parsons' career. I never want to put cart before the horse. He's a tremendous defender in every aspect, and I'm excited to see what he does this year. I think he wanted to bulk up to about 255 pounds. Let's hope that weight that he's adding on doesn't affect his speed and his get-off and his quickness, because that's what makes him such an elite defender, that you can use him all across the field, whether you're using him in coverage or whether you're having him rush the passer. all of those things kind of collectively lead me to believe he's going to be the key piece of a Super Bowl team for Dallas by the time he retires. I mean, he's going to get both of these. I think that's probably the fair way to phrase this argument.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like both these things can be true. Quite frankly, Lewis, you're right in your argument. He will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. My brain can't go that far down the road. I got to look more to the immediate here, and I feel like more in the immediate has got to be them winning a Super Bowl, right? Because of look at Aaron Donald and the role he played with the Rams. Like him being a small part, he can't do everything, you're right, but him being a small part of the Cowboys' hopes and dreams, at least in the NFC, that has got to lead them to a ring at some point.
I just don't believe that to be the case. I don't think it has to lead them to, anywhere. Aaron Donald was a hell of a player long before the Rams won a Super Bowl. He was wrecking shop from game one. From his very first year when they were back in St. Louis, Aaron Donald was just killing it. It was all the things that really weren't in his control that wound up coming together to allow him to be able to experience the kind of success on a team level that we're talking about in terms of winning the Super Bowl. So I guess what we're saying is, do you have confidence in everything around Micah Parsons in terms of ownership, general manager, same person, head coach, quarterback, efficient play calling, game management, et cetera, to allow Micah Parsons to parlay his greatness into team success? Do you trust it, is what you're saying? Or do you trust Micah Parsons to make sure he takes care of himself to where he is on a Hall of Fame trajectory? I trust Micah Parsons a hell of a lot more than I trust all the things around him, is what I'm saying. So what we're saying here is if you're betting on him winning a Super Bowl, you're saying that, okay, not only, it's a given that Micah's going to be great, but I trust the fact that eventually Jerry's going to get it right. Eventually. Mike McCarthy will get it right eventually. Dak will stop throwing the interceptions eventually. And I just don't feel that way about them. I just don't. And I'm not a Dallas Cowboy hater. Dallas Cowboys were my team as a kid. I loved them to death. And I'm almost like programmed to kind of default to liking the Cowboys, believe it or not. But I just don't trust it. I just don't.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.